Alright, like, click, subscribe, do it all that. It's Netflix time. This movie's called To All the Boys, Always and Forever. Yeah, and if you read the books out there, this is the third installment of the Lara Jean series, but let me do a little bit of recap before I get into this one. Now, in the first movie, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, she has like a bunch of secret love letters that she sends out to 5 of her different crushes. You know, she pretended to have a fake boyfriend who was Peter, but ends up being her real boyfriend over time. And she's got a couple of sisters. Her dad is well, not really by himself, but their mom had died a while ago. And she's just going through school, living everyday life. But her thing is she's always over-exaggerating everything. So it's like she delivers wrong messages to wrong people at the wrong times. But she figures out a way to bounce back throughout all that. And at the end, she ends up actually dealing with Peter. So Peter's the guy for her. So in the second movie, To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You, Lara Jean is officially Peter's girlfriend. So you think everything's all hunky-dory, right? But then it gets complicated when ex-love gets back into her, relationship or something like that. He re-enters the scene. So, it was a lot of confusion on her part, but you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, she still wanted to be with Peter and all that good stuff. And then her dad actually found a girl that he likes who happens to be a next door neighbor. So they get together and all that stuff. So now that I kind of caught you up, let's get you to the third movie. And this one's a spoiler alert to the max. I ain't saving shit. So in the third movie, right off the back, they all took a trip to Korea. And yes, the dad is with the next door neighbor. They're a thing. You see the sisters all together popping. Lara Jean gets on the phone. She starts sending pictures and text messages to Peter because yes, they're still together. They popping. She misses him. He misses her. All that good stuff. She's in Korea. He's back home. And that's what it is. Now, Peter's already got accepted into Stanford, and she thinks that she's getting accepted too, so she starts having dreams about getting into Stanford. She's dreaming about them graduating together, having a baby, getting a house. All that typical happy-dappy shit. And then they go to this bridge, not exactly a bridge or whatever, but they got a bunch of people that have always put locks around the corridor or whatever like that, and their mom had actually put up a lock, and the dad was explaining that he didn't really know he couldn't remember what the lock said or whatever. And so they're basically at the spot and they're trying to find the lock, which Lara Jean ends up finding, which says Eve and Dan for the rest of my life. Eve being the mom, Dan being the dad. Now, if you read the novels, they said that Eve had slipped on a recently wet floor and hit her head against the ground or whatever, and that's how she passed away. In the first 2 movies, they reference it a few times, but they never really explained how she died or what took place. So Kitty tries to find somebody to take the family photo. This is like the first time she goes googly eyes over anybody. This guy named Day. Quite hilarious. After that, they finally get back to the United States. They're back home. And who's waiting for Lara Jean? Peter, of course. Got the welcome home banners and all that. How the fuck did he get a key? Anyway, they're trying to enjoy movie night. Kitty asks Peter questions about boys. It's fucking hilarious. Yeah, he's quite stumped. He's like, why are you even asking me? That's so weird. Especially coming from her, so. They're very much in love, obviously. So Peter leaves because it's curfew, and Lara Jean looks up and she's shocked to find out that Dad's getting down on one knee and actually proposing to Trina. He might as well make it happen, get it popping. Back at school, this guy does some choreographed dance. Also, you can get this girl to go to the prom with him, which she obviously says yes. Christine and Trevor all back and forth as usual, but they own each other. They all in class tasting each other's cookies. Don't read too much into that. Back at home, they're planning a wedding in the backyard. And then she gets a text message on the phone about their status of Stafford. She goes upstairs to check, and that's the face you see when they hit you with that, "We regret to inform you." Once you see those letters, you're like, yeah, you're not getting in. And she really wanted to go to Stafford. Why? Because Peter's going to Stafford, so. And of course, you follow her first 2 movies. She gets real dramatic about it, has her friends over, and just starts spazzing. She gets a phone call from her other sister, Margot, telling Laura it might be good to get some space, but obviously she ain't trying to hear that shit. So she's texting and daydreaming, thinking that she's still texting Margot, and she tells her, yeah, of course I did, love you, whatever, apologizing, whatever. But she really texted Peter, and Peter was asking the question, did you get into Stanford? So she accidentally lied to him about not getting into Stanford. Like, you follow the movies, why am I not surprised? And of course, she's concocting all these scenarios in her head. But then she hears the Stafford song playing outside of her house, and yes, Peter is standing there playing it loud, like he had a boombox in his hand, but really it's just phone. And he's got Stanford written all over his truck. It's hilarious. He puts the Stanford tree on her and tells her, like, we're going to go out and celebrate and get pancakes. And you're like, look at this damn tree. It's ridiculous. And while that's going on, he invites her to prom, too. So, yeah. He's ready to celebrate. She obviously has that face like, damn, I wish I didn't tell him I got into Stanford. But, it is what it is. The next day, Laura's like, look, man, I'm not going to school. I'm not trying to face him and had to explain all this other stuff. Trina tries to give her some advice, and it's like, all right. Meanwhile, Kitty's spazzing out about her new boo Day because he doesn't like Harry Potter. Her favorite pastime, I guess. Now Laura's over Christine's house at this point, and she finds out that she does get accepted to Berkeley, which is like an hour away from Stanford. But they're packing for a school trip. The school trip, they're going to NYC, New York City. Christine packs this big ass suitcase for no reason. They get to New York City, bright lights, big city, all that. Obviously, once they get settled in, they're going exploring. They go to this little donut or coffee shop, and she finally tells Peter that she didn't get accepted into Stanford, but she did get accepted to Berkeley. Peter looked distraught this first, but he was like, he's cool with it because he said to himself, well, you can actually do a year there and then you can transfer to Stanford. So the next day, the whole class can go exploring, but the people obviously split them up into groups. And of course, they put the guys with the guys and girls with girls. They take a bunch of random photos, New York City life. Then as they're walking, they happen to stop by the New York University campus. They're invited to a party there by Samantha. I keep forgetting her name. Anyway, they ride the subway to get there. They have fun. Laura hears this band where she gets the inspiration for her and Peter's love song, which she obviously sends to Peter right away. She has a conversation with Shorty on the roof talking about do what makes you happy. They carry a couch on the subway. I can't even fathom why. Starting to think some of them were drunk, but what the fuck? How do you even get through security with that shit? But anyway. So she's talking on the phone with her sister Margot, and Margot's real skeptical about the marriage or whatever like that because mom, she says mom is written all over that house. But at the same time, Margot has been the least person that's been there like that. But it is what it is. But it's not even really that big of a deal because she ended up being cool with it, you know what I'm saying? So she's planning on a date with Peter, and one of the ideas is a date with soap making. And she runs it by Kitty. Kitty's just looking at her like, you don't get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. So she gets a shirt made and considers they might as well just go bowling. And he's looking like, yeah, much better choice, especially since she quotes the Big Lebowski. So they're just chilling on their date, bowling and whatnot, when all of a sudden Peter's dad pops up. So backstory is Peter's dad left him when he was like 5 years old. And now that he heard his son got accepted to college, all of a sudden he's just popping back up out the blue. It's like, Peter's not having none of that shit. But they wouldn't let that ruin their date night. So when Laura gets home, Kitty forgets to tell her that she actually did get accepted into NYU. So 2 out of 3 schools won her, She getting it popping. So obviously she tells Peter about it, but in the back of her mind, she actually does like New York since being there. So she's asking people about New York. And the whole key to this story really is that she wants to be as close to Peter as possible. And they're thinking to themselves, 90% of long distance relationships never work. And now she has a chance to either go to Berkeley, being an hour away from Stanford where her boyfriend's going, or go to New York City, all 3,000 miles all the way on the other side of the coast. Hell of a decision to make. But obviously you should go to school for your education and not just for a relationship. So she kind of talks it over with her dad. He kind of tells her the same thing I just said. Laura tells Peter she's considering New York. Peter wants her to be happy, but then he's like, really? I thought, we was going to be close together or whatever like that. So ever since that talk, they've been feeling like they're kind of distant. I know she feels that way. Back at home, Trina's planning how the wedding should go. Kitty's willing to compromise. I mean, Dave is actually watching Harry Potter, and he said only if you watch baseball. So she's forced to watch baseball because she really likes this guy. Laura's trying to think of something to write in Peter's yearbook, but obviously she got writer block. She can't think of nothing. Day after that, Laura and Christine are getting ready for their proms. Christine's telling Laura she should probably try to lose her virginity, it's prom and all that stuff. And it's been a while since watching the movies, but I had totally forgot that Laura and Peter never had sex. So I was like, okay. They have a great night at prom, but somewhere in between that, she feels more distant from Peter than ever, which when they get to the house gives her the idea to be like, all right, Peter, you gotta come on up. And he's like, yo, for real, man, I thought they had a curfew. And she's like, nah, just don't get caught. I'm like, okay, she about that life right now, all right. They in her room. She pulls out the box she used to keep all her letters in and gives it to Peter, which actually contains all the mementos that they've had together. Pictures, love letters, stuff like that. They almost get down for the get down. He asks her, are you sure? So he's thinking to himself, why have sex now at the prom? So she's telling him that basically she was feeling pretty much insecure about how they feeling about each other when she told her she was going to NYU. So he's thinking to himself, you're only doing this because you're leaving? It's like, the fuck? You know what I mean? Because making love should mean something. So not only do they not do the do, they end up breaking up. Yeah, it's pretty sad when you think about it. She's texting him the next day, talking about it's probably best if you don't come to the wedding. So they like broken up for real, for real. She gets together with her girl, Christine, to eat ice cream. Classic move. They're setting up for the wedding, and Margot approves of Trina actually marrying her dad and all that good stuff. Peter's in a coffee shop and he's actually having a one-on-one with his dad. They air out all types of grievances and stuff. They don't go into full details of everything they talked about. Dan and Trina finally get married. Kitty's still giddy off a day and shit. Then Kitty tells Laura that she left something in the tank or something like that in the tent. Yeah, she gives her that look like, yo, go to the tent, yo. So she goes to the tent. And I must say, this tent looks awesome the way it's set up. I mean, for it to be such a little space and how they did it for the wedding, it's pretty good. And the tent is the yearbook that Peter wrote in. And he actually writes about the first time he met Lara Jean. He throws in there a story when they were in middle school that I didn't even know about. Did we know about them knowing each other from middle school? I can't remember. And the rest of the story is basically recaps from the other two movies. And when she turns around, he's actually right behind her. He makes her sign a new love contract, kind of reminiscent to how it started in the first place. They dance to their official love song that was inspired by a group that she heard in New York. They go upstairs, and they actually do get it popping. They're not virgins no more. Yep, it finally happened. Next day they graduate. They celebrate eating pancakes, because that's kind of their thing. Peter settles in Stanford. Lara Jean settles in New York. And she's content with the fact that they can write love letters back and forth to each other. And that's how it ends. You know it's official because in the credits they do like a whole montage of all three movies, so it's like, yeah. To All the Boys, Always and Forever on Netflix. Check it out. Matter of fact, just check out the whole trilogy while you're at it. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. It's your boy, Slick DZ, all Daisy, Mr. Big. Who the goddamn slogan?